Introducing Oladipupo Clement, convener. Oladipupo Clement is a global investor and trusted wealth creation and retention coach with a career spanning over 2 decades. He is the Chief Executive Officer of LifeRich Group, a real estate investment company. LifeRich Group has successfully created and managed over 23 projects across Africa with an investment portfolio deals worth over $20 million. He leads a group of investors or professionals comprising of over 15,000 subscribers and realtors. He also co-founded several other companies within the construction, software development. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Oladipupo Clement.
You're welcome, sir.
Interesting. Good evening, good morning, depending on where you may be joining us from. Thank you, Mr. Okbeoluwa. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you. I'm quite anxious, and I don't know why. I'm the convener of the event, but I feel a bit anxious. I just have a feeling that there's so much a high expectation, and so I hope I don't disappoint anyone today. All right, so let's get quickly into our subject for today. I want to thank you all for making our time for being a part of this session today, and I trust that it's going to be an exciting time. After last week edition, the standard has been set so high, and it's like, who can beat those standards anymore? But let's see how far we can go on these. I just focus on my topic. All right, so let's get going. I'm speaking today on planning your retirement using the vehicle of real estate. And planning your retirement is extremely an important subject that everyone, no matter your age, no matter your status, whether you're a business owner, you are a handyman, you're a professional, whether you're an employee, whether you are a graduate or undergraduate, everybody needs this subject, and it's so crucial. But I want to just lay a little foundation for what I will share today. In 2006, I remember one of my clients at the time invited me to witness a send forth some kind of retirement training that had been put together for retirees by the federal government on how to make use of their yet to be paid gratuity. And that experience that I had then in 2006 would never leave me in a hurry. It's an experience that left me in a state of shock. How that, though that particular training was a laudable and important training, but it would have been a lot valuable if that training was provided them at the beginning of their career. And so, interestingly, one of the things I paid attention to, I'm a very good observer. One of the ways by which I learn is, apart from reading, listening, I observe a lot. I observe my environment. I study my environment a lot. And one of the things I monitored that particular event was the fact that there were quite a handful of these retirees who came for that event. One thing I observed was that those who were able to make it, a good chunk of them, were aided in by some younger fellow. Majority of those people, were not in good health condition. I also suspect that at the time also, majority of them couldn't make it either because some of them were dead or some of them were in critical health condition. And then the third possibility is that some of them didn't even need the training because they were better off. And that for me turned my life around personally, because someone said, experience is not the best teacher. It is the experiences of others that is the best teacher. And that's exactly what that did to me. There were 4 things that I can pick quickly from that experience, and I need to just drop it. Number 1 is that you don't want to retire and be looking for a job in order to survive, or banking on others in order to survive. That's number 1 thing. There were number of those retirees at that time who didn't even require that training, basically because they planned their lives. All right. So you don't want to retire. And whatever image comes to your mind, even as I say this, is something that should help you to reorganize yourself, no matter where you are right now, whether you are 5 years to retirement, 10 years to retirement, or 20 years to retirement. There's no better time to start planning for your retirement than right where you are now. All right. And that's very, very important. Number two, while working really doesn't end, and working for necessity, is what must end. And this is so important too. Working will not end, but working for necessity is what must end. Those are some of the lessons I learned from that particular experience. And I've gone on, that's about 14 years ago now, 14 years now. And I can tell you that from personal experience, I know some things. And I've gone on to, from being a pauper to doing what I do today, and also helping a lot of people. This is why we put this event together. We are not doing this just for the fun of it. The greatest gift you can give a man is to teach them how to fish, right? And anyone who wants to keep you perpetually in bondage deprives you of an information that would liberate you. And that's essentially why this conference is so essential. All right. Number three is that your retirement doesn't have to be at 60. You don't have to retire at 60 or after 35 years of working life. So, and we're going to be, giving some insights into exactly what you must do differently from those who have gone ahead of us. You also need to understand that the times are changing. The agrarian age is different from the industrial age. The industrial age is entirely different from the information age. And obviously, it's entirely different from the intelligence age. So your retirement doesn't have to be at 60. So you don't have to clock 60 or spend 35 years, active working life before you retire. This is so important. This is extremely crucial. Number four, you can choose your retirement age. You can choose your retirement age. One beautiful thing I found very instructive personally is the fact that there are things that you cannot define in life. There are things you don't have control over. You can't determine who gives birth to you, for example. You can't determine which you are born. You can't determine who your father, who your parents, who your siblings would be. But you know what you have control over? You can choose this one, for example. You can choose your retirement age. You can determine it from this moment right now. I'm telling you, you can determine that right away. All right. So those are some of the 4 key points I drew from my personal experience on that particular day. Of course, I made decisions, and those decisions are responsible for where I am where I am right now. And it's the same thing I intend to achieve with each and every one of us listening to me right now. I want you to be able to take a decision. My mentor often says that great meetings don't make great people. It's great decisions. So you want to take a decision today. Most times when people think about retirement, a few things come to their mind. The first thing that comes to their mind is, what will happen to me after retirement? They get anxious, they get, really scared. And I found out that a lot of people, especially during my days when I was an employee, I remember many of my clients, I always get calls when it's just 2 years to retirement, 5 years to retirement, and then people are often under severe pressure to try to achieve in 3 years, in 5 years, what they couldn't accomplish even in 10 years. And you find a situation where people who are retirees, start to mount pressure on their on their children who are just fresh graduates to produce results within 2 years that they could not even produce in 30 years. So not planning for your retirement will not only impact you, will also impact on other people around you. And that's pretty much some of the things I want to quickly look at. So let's quickly do, to plan for your retirement. I wrote a book, and I would encourage you to go on my website, oladipupoclement.org, and get those books. Planning for your retirement, that's the title of the book. I may not be able to cover a lot of things in that book, but I'll just touch on very important elements and then give you tools that you can start to work with almost immediately. My intention today, we have very limited time. My intention today is just to hand over tools that I am using, right? you don't forget what you do. You don't forget what you do. It's easy to download anything on internet. It's easy to copy anything from anywhere. But what you do and practice is not something you forget to communicate. So what does it mean? What does retirement really mean? Right? Retirement, by definition, my opinion, and it's important to take note of this. My opinion, retirement is a stage in your life when you will be out of active service, right? And that can be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It's a point in your life when you are no longer working for necessity, just as I said earlier. So at that point in your life, you could be 40, you could be 45, you could even be 30, right? You can set your retirement age. I've read materials. I don't have, of course, I have stories of people that I relate with personally who have retired at 35, who have retired at 40. I have stories of people like that and who have personal relationships with. One thing that is common is the fact that at that point in your life, you are now working for purpose. You are working for fulfillment. You are not just working. You are working now to live and not just working to live. You are working to live and not just working for a living. And this is very, very important. You are not just working for a living, you are working to live. In order for you to continually be alive and healthy, ill and hearty, you have to continue to do that. That's very important. So what does it mean? So if retirement is a time in your life when you'll be out of active working life, then what exactly is planning? And this one part I'm very excited about because I plan my life and I encourage everyone to do so. And I'm going to get into some very touchy, very sensitive areas shortly. Planning, in my definition, is basically bridging the gap between today and tomorrow. I often say to people, if you are not going to be broke tomorrow, it's today you will know. And it's the way you lay your bed that you will lie on it. And this is very important. Planning is so crucial. I often say to people as well that it is cheaper and better to fail on paper than to fail in the field. It is cheaper and better than to fail on paper than to fail in the field. If you make a mistake on your piece of paper, the worst thing that will happen is that you trash that paper and get a new one. And it's easier. Okay, and that's very much important. And that's exactly what planning is. It's basically bridging the gap between today and tomorrow. And in simple terms, you are basically ascertaining your location when it comes to planning, especially when it comes to financial planning. You are ascertaining your current location, where exactly you are, and then you are defining and determining your destination, and then choosing your vehicle. The summary of everything I'm going to be sharing today is built on this simple principle. And it has helped me, it has helped several other people, and it can help just about anybody, regardless of your geography, regardless of your location. All right, so that's very important. So let's quickly look at what then is retirement planning. So retirement planning, therefore, can be defined as preparing for a life out of active service before or immediately you start working. This is very important. Planning for retirement, therefore, means preparing for life out of active service, right, before or immediately you start working. And now this is the culture that every organization needs to promote. I always say that this is the culture every organization should promote. I often share with my guys and share with people. I've had stories of people who earned so much and then got to some point. I've even worked in an organization before where people earn as high as 50 million a year, 40 million a year, and they couldn't create as much they should. All right. And there were several factors responsible for this, but I don't want to go into those factors, right? I don't want to get into those factors. Now, very quickly, if planning for your retirement is about a time when you will not have to work for necessity, it's about structuring and creating a life after work, right? The type of life you want to live after work, then it's important we look at why then do you really need to plan for your retirement? Why do you need to plan for your retirement? Why do you need to plan for your retirement? Certainly, we're looking at planning retirement or your retirement with real estate. But before we even get into the subject of real estate, let's understand what planning for your retirement truly means. Why do you need to plan for your retirement in the first place? Number one, a research report was released a couple of years back, and 100 college graduates were monitored over a 40-year period, right? And their outcome was as follows. Now, note this. Out of these 100 graduates finished from school, they were monitored. Out of these 100 people, 1%, that is one out of all of these people, was financially independent and exceedingly wealthy. Only one out of 100. 1 out of 100. 4 out of these people were rich and comfortable, right? And then 5%, and 5 out of those 100 people were still working for necessities. You don't want to get to a point in your life where you are no longer having steady, active income, and there is no passive income to replace it. You don't want to get to that point in your life. You don't want to be at the mercy of a government that doesn't think about you. You don't want to be at the mercy of an organization that really is not about you. You want to think about these things. A lot of people, I remember sharing this some time ago. About 4 years ago, I was to host a seminar, and I shared with a few young men to join me for the planning your retirement seminar. And I remember the gentleman said to me, I'm not ready to die. I'm not ready to retire. But that's exactly what comes to people's mind, especially when they are much younger. I can tell you categorically here, your greatest resource for planning for your retirement, especially as it relates to your finances, is time. Time is the greatest resource for planning your retirement. And please don't forget that. All right. So out of those 100 people, 5 were still working for necessity. So they were still looking for jobs to survive. 36 of them, 36 out of those 100 people were already dead. And 54%, which means 54 out of those 100 people were indigent and dependent on others or social welfare. These are the realities. I think the statistics are even worse in this part of the world. This is US statistics, and I think it's even worse in this part of the world. So what exactly do you need to plan for your retirement? The few points I just want to mention here because of my time. Number one, you are already on your way to retirement. Whether you currently have a job or out of job, whether you are retired, whether you are retrenched, whether you have resigned, you're already on your way to retirement. Whether you are a business owner, whether you're a professional, whether you're self-employed or an employee, you are already on your way to retirement. So, and let me be honest with you, you cannot continue to labor the way you are laboring right now when you eventually get to that point. The things law of diminishing return will set in eventually when you retire. So you're already on your way to retirement. Whether there's a gratuity in place, whether there's a pension, a retirement savings account or not, you're already on your way to retirement. The law of diminishing return will set in emotionally, psychologically, physiologically, physically, even mentally. It will go down. You will continue to diminish. And so it's important to pay serious attention to this at this point in your life. Number 2, nobody will plan your future for you if you do not. These are some of the key reasons you have to plan for your retirement. Nobody, and I say nobody, will plan your retirement for you. Nobody will plan for your future for you without your involvement. And this is so important. Money will continue to flow the way it is. Money will not continue to flow the way it is right now, tomorrow. And that's if it is flowing at all. What you do during the seasons of surplus will always determine what will happen in the seasons of famine. And so resources will not continue to flow the way it is flowing to you. So you've got to plan for the future. I'll get into that very quickly. I often say to people, while there's nothing wrong with a pension scheme, with RSA, retirement savings account, having a pension fund administrator to manage your pension, I personally don't believe in it. Even though we operate is statutory, right? I personally flow with it. I don't have a problem with it. But one of the key things I must tell you is that pension is not adequate to resolve your retirement requirements or retirement needs. And this is so important. I can tell you for a fact, it just meant it's supposed to be a supplementary arrangement to whatever you have put in place. And this is so important. Your retirement savings account is not adequate for the future. I mean, for obvious reasons. I can go on and on, but that time will not permit me to dissect the concept around pension. It's already failing in different parts of the world. In some nations of the world, in Europe, they've moved retirement age from 65, they've moved it to 67. In some professions, in some sectors, they've even moved retirement age to 72. All right. So, and that's still not solving problems, right? What is failing in America, failing in Europe, is what we have embraced here. So you really can't count on the systems that are in place. So it's just supposed to be a supplementary arrangement to what you have put in place. And that's what you have control over, right? This is very important. Number 3, why do you need to plan for your retirement? Inflation. I don't know any of you who bought anything a year ago who still are finding to buy that same product, that same commodity for the same price today. And even if you are getting it at the same price, quality has dropped. So you find out that, and I mean, as you age, as you grow older, you realize that things are not going to be delivered to you for free. The fact that you are now going to be retired doesn't mean things will be handed over to you for free in the market. So you realize inflation, the rising cost of goods and services, it's becoming really alarming. Just between January and now, you know what has happened in the country. In Nigeria alone, the fuel price has gone up. A lot of things that happen. So you realize if if you pay this much right now and you are still in active working life, common sense should tell you and I that tomorrow will be more expensive. So you got to plan. You got to plan. There's no free lunch for retirees anywhere, right? So it's important to understand that this is one of the key reasons, all right? And there will never come a time when you will not need money to survive. There will not need resources to be able to maintain your life. Number 4 is that your children can inherit your job. For those of us here who are employees, who are on paid employment, one thing you must recognize is that no matter how high you rise on the corporate ladder, no matter how high you rise in that organization, listen to me carefully, you cannot will your ID card to your children. Even if the job of a permanent secretary is not permanent. A permanent secretary will still retire someday. Let me just drop just the 5th one, and I'll move on to how to plan for your retirement. The 5th reason you should plan for your retirement is because there will be increase in health costs. You would realize that as you age, even though there's been significant advancement in medical science, you realize that the cost is also soaring, right? It's just directly proportional to inflation. And so you will need more health care in the future than you currently need now that you are young. And so you've got to plan your retirement. So failure to start planning early or planning now for your retirement puts you at a huge risk, right? This is so crucial. Now let's quickly get into, there are too many reasons, but let me just stop there. Let's move on to how to plan your retirement. Now, there's something I just quickly need to drop here. Number 1, in planning your retirement, the first step you need is make financial independence your goal. Make it your vision. Make financial independence your goal. And you realize that you don't need 35 years, even though time is an advantage. Time should be an advantage, but you don't need 35 years to be financially independent. And this is very important. To make the first step in planning for your retirement is make, financial independence your target. Make it your goal. I say it all the time. Financial independence is a point in your life when the proceed from your investment is capable of meeting all your daily needs without you having to worry another day. At least you are capable of taking care of your personal and your family needs. That's financial independence. There are 5 levels in the journey to financial freedom. There's financial crisis. That's where the majority of people are. And you can move from that point if you so choose, if you decide. There's also financial instability. That's another level where a majority of people are for whatever reasons. And that's today's not for that. There's also financial stability where you basically are getting by. There's some degree of financial equilibrium. What is coming in and what is going out seem to match to an extent. And of course, there's financial independence. Financial independence is the 4th level, but it's not the highest level. right? But financial independence at least gives you that degree of comfort where your passive income now can replace your active income, where you don't no longer have to work for necessity. Anytime anybody see you working, you are not working because of yourself anymore. You are working because of fulfillment. You are working for a higher purpose. And that's where you can be as well. But financial freedom, at that point, you are financially free. And then the proceed from your investment is not only capable of meeting your needs and that of your family, but it's capable of doing a lot of good and donations to the world. And that's the highest level. And that's why I host Financial Freedom Masterclass from time to time to take people. I have a life. One of my life goals is to raise 1,000, financially free individuals, 1,000 multi-millionaires, over the next 5 years. It's one of my major life goals. And I'm not joking with that at all. And that's pretty much one of the things. When you go on my website, also, oladipupo.clement.org, you will find some information there, or you can contact our office, on how to get registered. I also provide personal coaching. I get into my tribe and I do some groundwork with you. I also have one-on-one sessions from time to time with some of my people. And it's been very, 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 very helpful. So make financial independence your target. So now you understand what financial independence really is. But listen to me carefully. If you get this in this lecture, my assignment is done. Note this principle, this fundamental principle. I call it Rule 20. Rule 20 basically says, because one of the things, if you make financial independence your retirement, if you make planning for your retirement, the goal for your retirement is financial independence, then one thing that is very crucial and important, right, is you must estimate how much you will need tomorrow, right, to be able to cater for your needs now and again. And this is so important. Now, how do you estimate how much you require 5, 10 years from now? How do you estimate it? And that's exactly what I want to quickly show you. Because if you get this, it will help you a great deal. The first thing you want to assess is how much do you expend on a monthly basis. So if, for example, right now, your monthly expenses to keep your family, to pay your bills, to run your family, to run your expenses, either as a person, and note this, even your company can retire. Even your company can be financially free. Even your business can be financially free. Financial freedom is not only personal. It's not only personal. It can also be organizational. And it's something that everyone listening to me right now, need to listen to and need to follow, to the letter. So if your monthly expenses, for example, is a million naira, that could be about 3,000, less than 3,000, about $2,500, or about 2,000 pound sterling, right? If your monthly expenses is 1 million naira, so let's just use Nigerian naira as our example, right? That means in a year, you require 12 million naira to keep up with your basic expenses right now. Now, that is also, it's a pointer to where you are right now, but not exactly where you will be in the next 20 years or 5 years or 10 years. Now, certainly, if you use Rule 20, all you need to do basically, if you want to take it on the basic level, you multiply 12 million by 20. That gives you an idea of how much you should have in form of assets, in form of investment. And this is very important. So if what you require to keep up with your basic bills on a daily, monthly basis for a whole year is 12 million naira, 1 million a month, then what that means is that if you multiply that by 20, I call that Rule 20. If you multiply that by 20, what you need to have in form of asset is 240 million naira. Now, guess what? You'll be considered financially free. You'll be considered financially independent if you have 240 million naira in form of assets or investment. Now, what that communicates is that if you earn at least 5% of that asset every year. You'll be capable of taking care of all your annual, monthly needs without you touching your principal. And that's a good place to be. And as a matter of fact, you can actually continue to consolidate. And that's why you see some people keep working harder, because the purpose and the vision is much higher than where they are. One of my life goals, for example, is to sponsor 1,000 children through school. Now, that vision is not just about me. It's also about other people. So I've got no choice but to be rich. It's part of my plan. And that's exactly the way everyone listening to me right now got to think. Now, so if you make financial independence your goal, your target, the basis for estimating how much you will need in the future is what I just shared with you. So you need to estimate the likely cost of living when you eventually retire. So if you are 30 right now and you plan to retire at 40, then in 10 years' time, it means you must at least have 240 million naira in form of cash, asset, or investment. And then if it gives you the least return on investment of up to 5%, then you are considered to be financially independent. Number 2 step you must take in order to plan your retirement is start now and start early. For those of you who are much younger, you are in your 20s, I congratulate you. Start early. It is possible for you to even retire at 30. It's possible for you to retire at 35. It's possible. The earlier you start planning for your retirement, the better you will be, for it. This is so important. Start early. Puts you at an advantage. There's a book I'm currently reading now, and that book blew my mind. I mean, it is story-like material and very, very instructive. Very, very instructive. And for those of you who are in my tribe and those of you who want to join the tribe, I will encourage you, just get in touch with our office, and you'll be glad, because I'm going to be making that book as our next month recommendation. You guys got to list. You got to read that book. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. All right. So start early. Start early. Now listen to this carefully. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep. It's not how much you make that matters, but how much you keep that counts. And this is very, very important. You can earn big and still end broke. Now, the number 3 is get continual financial education. That's why seminars like this, whether webinars or live sessions or pre-recorded sessions, those are classes you must attend. Materials, books. I'm passionate about seeing people create wealth legitimately. I hate seeing people poor. It's my life calling. I personally believe that my calling is to damage poverty, and I'm not going to leave any stone unturned. And so I'm hungry for more knowledge anywhere I can find it about finance and how people can succeed economically. That's my life calling. That's my purpose. I already know that. And so you got to invest in continual financial education. You can never outgrow the need to constantly update yourself. And this is very, very important. Financial education is what provides you with the capacity to make informed decisions. And this is so important. Then number 4, which brings me to my topic, which brings me to the subject of real estate. You now need to select the right investment instrument. You need to select the right vehicle. Now, there are several vehicles by which people have created wealth. Some people have, there's a concept called the new retirement. And there are people who have created wealth, who have, entered some dimension of retirement just by, by innovation and creativity. That's what's referred to as new retirement, right? But the most reliable that nearly anybody listening to me right now can play in is leveraging real estate. Of course, there are several other instruments, there are other vehicles. Now, listen to this carefully. Your vehicle will determine how early or late you arrive at the wealthy place. And this is so important. It will determine how early or late you arrive at the wealthy place. If you are to journey from here to Port Harcourt and you decide to go by trekking, you will arrive there, just that it will take you longer time and you need to have a lot of stopovers. And then certainly it will take you more time. And then you can go by road, by driving. You will get there certainly, but it also take you a bit of time, but much faster than someone who goes by trekking. But if you go by flight, you go by plane, you are more likely to arrive there earlier than everybody else, not because you are smarter, not because of your race, not because of your creed, not because of your religion, not because of your height, not because of your gender, not because of anything, and not even because of your education, but because of your choice of vehicle. You know, one of the things I found out about real estate and why it's my recommendation anytime, any day, because you don't actually get rich to acquire real estate. You acquire real estate to become rich. And is the one of the fastest, vehicle for not only creating wealth, but also retaining it. And so this is important. There are a few truths you must bear in mind. Few truths I just want to drop concerning real estate. Number one, real estate is the most reliable vehicle of wealth creation, right? I call it prosperity made easy. So you don't need too much technicalities. Yeah, there, if you were to be doing real estate in other parts of the world, of course, you need to do a bit more education. Of course, there's some degree of education you require, even here in Nigeria, but it's basic and just about anybody can play in it. All right. Number two, real estate is the most reliable vehicle of wealth retention and preservation. I already mentioned that earlier on. Stock market can crash, even though it's still viable, it's still good, but it's long term, but it's so volatile and subject to a lot of forces. Businesses can go bankrupt. So even though business is also a vehicle for creating wealth, it's also important. And so it's important to recognize that real estate is far more reliable than most other instruments. Now, I'm not saying that there are no other instruments you can use to facilitate, but my focus today is on real estate. Number three, real estate is the only vehicle of wealth creation that does not have incremental possibilities. Now, where you live, if you are a tenant, wherever you live right now, has not increased in size and may not increase in size. But I can tell you for a fact that the value continues to rise. The size of that parcel of land may not increase, but the value continues to rise. And it often rises at geometric progression. I remember a property were to buy somewhere some time ago, and somebody was telling that no, this property was put in the market at 800,000 naira just a few years ago, but now it's going for 15, 20 million. And so, and you see, that's the beauty of real estate. No incremental possibilities, geometric growth. And that's what you find in real estate. Real estate is also one of the few, if not only wealth creation vehicle that appreciates without your effort, without effort on your part. And those are some of the very important reasons why I'm recommending it as a superior vehicle for creating wealth. And this is so important. Number five, real estate does not expire because it has a lifetime value. Now, there's no degree of technological advancement that will ever replace real estate. None. There will never come a time when people will go so virtual, go so technological that they will be sleeping on their website or their portal. So it's important you recognize this. No matter the advancement in technology, real estate will still be a very relevant thing. Number six, and final one, location matters in real estate investments. And let me say this. When it comes to this issue of location, it's important. It's not about distance, because distance is relative. When you say some place is far, it's far to where you are. But there are people who walk closer to that place that you said is far. It's important to recognize that when we talk about location, it's about the quality of people that reside in a particular geography. And that's what impacts on the value. The people, what makes piece of real estate in Banana Island that expensive is the quality of people there. And so it's important to recognize this. So you move in the direction where people of timber and caliber, where they move to, that's where you should you position yourself. This is very, very important. Real estate is all about positioning. You can position yourself in the direction no one else is facing. All right. And this is so important. Now, how do you go into real estate as a means for planning your retirement? Let me just wrap up with this. Number one is land purchase. It's the simplest, easiest way of getting and planning your retirement. I remember a friend of ours who started buying, he had a contract with a telecom company, and the contract was supposed to last for just 3 years. And he knew that there was no gratuity at the end of these 3 years. So all he did was, with this income, he kept acquiring massive expanse of land and was perfecting his title document and then securing his land. And now, immediately after that period, he just started to resell and start buying properties in prime prime locations. And that's strategic. This is what people do. You can buy 6 plots, 1 acre, sell 3 to build on 3. You can buy 2 acres, sell 1 acre to build on 1, or build on a section of that 1. These are strategic things you can do. Land purchases, all right? You can buy land in developing areas, wait for a few years, and sell when development comes and have increased in value. You can buy land and build. Some people buy and build. It's part of the things we do as well, right? You can buy land, build a house. You can build a shop. You can build an office complex. You can do hostel if your property is sited close to an institution, a higher institution. These are things you can do. Although rental income is the worst form of real estate investment, but it is still a lot better than most other vehicles. And so it's important to recognize that. You can also embrace off purchase. These are methods by which you can go into real estate by way of achieving your retirement. Imagine that between now and the next 10 years, every 2 years you own a property. Every 2 years. In 10 years, you would have built and owned at least 5 properties. Even if you lost your job by whatever reason, even if you are retrenched, even if you are affected by whatever, those 5 properties is capable of giving you rental income that is able to sustain you and your household. And listen to me carefully. If you prepare for bad times, you will always have good times. If you prepare for bad times, you will always have good times. Off-plan purchase is another major thing you could do. You buy a property during construction or before construction. And these are options that you can explore. There are many, many options that we want to explore. I want to end with this story because of my time. There are many, many options that you can use to plan for your retirement using real estate. But let me end with this story because it will give you some degree of insight. Just in conclusion, I heard a story of an unschooled landlord. Thank you, Mr. Akpa. I know my time is up. This unschooled landlord, he set out a plan, and the plan was that he was going to build a house every year. And he was going to build a house. I beg your pardon. He was going to build a house. He was going to build 12 houses, and his intention was that one house would cater for 1 month. 1 month family expenses, 1 month obligation. That's one thing he did. And so he instructed his caretaker, please don't put out each of these houses out for let at the same time. So when each tenant pay for every building, when payments are made for their rent, it comes in. So he named each house January, he named the other one February, he named the other one March, and on like that. So by creating such portfolio of investment properties, he was able, even though he doesn't have the degree of education that most of us have, he was able to create assets that's perpetuating cash flow for him without him having to rely on government or any system created by man. I believe if you do likewise, even if it's just 5 houses you were able to accomplish, I know people who have done that even to prepare for their children's college education, right? You are married right now and your children are still young. Don't be deceived. Whatever it is that you are paying as school fee right now is nothing compared to what you will pay in the future. All right. And so that is my encouragement to you today. If you set out a plan, if it's every 3 years, you must own a house. You will realize that actually all these matching clothes will not matter to you. All this party, all this trying to please people, trying to show face, trying to be like people, trying to impress people won't matter to you. You follow your plan. And that's pretty much my encouragement to you today. If you follow that plan, no matter most plans that come to fruition are very simple. They are not complicated. And I just gave you one. Embrace it. No matter where you are right now, there's always a real estate investment that's suitable for you. And we've got lots of that already on our platform. And for those of you who may be listening to me and say, sorry, where do I start from? I don't even have any means of livelihood. Stay tuned. There are many more opportunities that we're going to be sharing in the course of this program today. Thank you so much for listening to me. I believe I've added a bit of value. Thank you once again.
Wow. Thank you very much. That was an awesome section. Thank you very much. Because of time, we want to take a couple of questions. If there's any question in the comment section, so let's take 1 or 2 questions because our next speaker is already on standby. So let's take some couple of questions. So do we have any question? Do we have any question? So while we wait for questions, can I ask a question, sir?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. I want to ask this question. I mean, most often than not, a lot of young people in, the larger percentage of Nigerian population are youth. I mean, under 25. Some of them are still in higher institutions. Some of them are probably in NYSC camp. And some of them are just wondering at what point can they start planning for this retirement? Because if I'm still thinking of how to get a job, how should I be planning? At what point can I start planning for retirement? Or is there something one should even watch out for even before you venture into a particular career path?
Those are multidimensional questions. And if I want to pick them, that's another lecture on its own. But the very important thing we must bear in mind, since retirement is my focus, is that you start planning for your retirement from day one. The day one you start, you get a job, you start earning an income, you start planning. You plan your exit before you resume. It's important. It's extremely crucial. In terms of career planning, that's another subject altogether, right? Most times, what people go to study in school is often in alignment with their purpose. And so my recommendation for those people is that you pursue the area of your strength. The cheapest way to operate under a course is to operate outside your strength, to operate outside your purpose. So my recommendation, anytime, any day, is any young man, any young woman listening to me right now, you don't currently have a job. Once you start to earn a living, once you start making income, you start planning for your retirement. And it begins by the first thing, you see, one thing that defines the direction, that defines your priorities is the direction of your money. And I've said it time and again, every one of us do not need expertise to spend. We all are gifted at spending. We are all endowed with the capacity to spend, but we just do not have the capacity to make, manage, and multiply it. And that's exactly why you need financial education now and again. So my recommendation is, from the moment you start earning, no matter how little, right, there are 3 things you will do with the money that you must do with money before you start spending. In fact, there are four things. Number 1 is you must give. Number 2, you give. You give because the money came, because there are forces that are working in your favor. Number 2 is you also give. You give to a force that is making things happen for you. You give to people that needs help around you. And then number 3 is save. Number 4 is invest. So you need a structure. When you join my tribe, I'm going to be providing you all those coaching assessments. And like I said, it's not about how much money you make, but how much money you keep. So that's pretty much what it is. I don't know if that helps.
Yes, that does. Thank you very much. I want you to talk about the Financial Freedom Masterclass. Okay. Although we have a question, but before we take that question, just talk, how can people register? Is there a number to call? All right. So, because a lot of people have been, there are so many things that, so people are listening to us, watching us right now to be part of the Financial Freedom Masterclass. All
right. So all you need to do to join the Financial Freedom Masterclass, just call the number.
Yes, that does. Thank you very much. I want you to talk about the Financial Freedom Masterclass. Okay. Although we have a question, but before we take that question, just talk, how can people register? Is there a number to call? All right. So, because a lot of people have been, there are so many things that, so people are listening to us, watching us right now to be part of the Financial Freedom Masterclass.
All right. So all you need to do to join the Financial Freedom Masterclass, just call the number. For those of you who are watching us international, from outside the country, just dial +234 0708 797 0441 0708 797 0441. Just dial that number and then make your booking. We are not having any Financial Freedom Masterclass this month, but certainly we'll be having next month, so you can book ahead of that time. I do a lot more. It's a 2-day packed session, and there are things that I do. In fact, let me say this here: anybody who registers for that masterclass, I'm going to give them 1 hour coaching, one-on-one coaching. So there are things I do. I can't be sharing all of that on a platform like this. I'll give it to you free of charge. So I will give you tools. I'll give you quite a number of things. I also show you my revenue model. That's what I'm going to share with you. Yeah. Yeah, there's a question here.
Wow, the network. Yes, the network didn't allow us to hear the last part. You said you are giving us something.
Okay, I said
for anybody that
anyone,
registered.
yes,
Okay.
anyone who registers for the next edition of Financial Freedom Master is going to come up next month of November. We are not having any session this month because of the events this month. So next month we're going to be having. All you need to do is contact the number I gave out earlier, 0708-797-0441. And I said that I'm going to be sharing with you tools that has helped me work. I'm going to give you a one-on-one coaching session, so you have opportunity to interact with me directly, and then we'll deal with your specific issues. Those who have attended the class and those who belong to my tribe also understand this. One of the advantages you derive from registering for this masterclass is that you also join my tribe, tribe of wealthy origin, and it's a unique platform that if you want to create wealth, there's no better place to be. So whether you're a professional, you run your own business, I do all those coaching and I provide assistance where I can. So somebody's asking a question. Benedict is asking, sir, you said rental income is not the main deal we would get from real estate. Sir, please, what is the main deal? Okay, so I said it's the worst form of maximizing real estate property. I didn't say it's bad, you know. Listen, if you build a house for 50 million, for example, or you built 50 million average, and you are getting 4 to 5 million naira annually, the value of the property certainly continues to appreciate, but what you are generating on an annual basis is not capable of maintaining that property. So I often recommend that there are other things I can show you. One of which is, if you built, let's say, let me dish it out. If you built six blocks of flats, for example, and you sell off 2 units, you did out 2 units out of that, you will recoup a chunk of your capital. You unlock a chunk of your capital tied down to that property, and you're able to replicate that same order again and again, while you are still generating rental income from the rest. That's a free gift I just wanted to give you. Yeah, somebody's asking another question here, saying, thanks, Mr. Clement. I'm very much interested in how you can start acquiring landed property even when you don't have enough to buy in now. How do I start, or where do I start from? No capital. Okay, so what you need to do is just contact our office lines. There's a line that will be scrolled shortly, and you will get more details in the course of this program. I don't need to talk too much on that one. It's very cheap, very easy. So, Mr. Akpa, over to you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. We are going to be just taking this. This is going to be the last question. There's a question says, why is there no land purchase in the Million Homes Reloaded? Somebody is asking, where is there no land purchase?
We still have landed properties you can buy, prime, general areas of, special prime areas. But the truth of the matter is, we realize as a company that to address the housing shortfall in the country, it's not just about land alone. Even though land is a valuable resource in making that happen. What we're focusing on right now is more about unlocking the debt, the debt capital. That's pretty much what we're doing right now. And it's by infrastructural development, by housing development. And that's what will even boost the economy in general. Over the next 1 year, our focus is to provide 1,000 homes. And that's what we're already working towards. So that's the reason why we're not doing that. So I'm sorry, but there are landed properties. You can go to properties.lifepaidgroup.com and you see some of the properties that we have, properties.lifepaidgroup.com. Somebody says, see, I think we have to bring in Shola so that please, we'll see
we need
how
to
we can
bring
take
in
your
the next
questions.
speaker.
Yes. Because I know.
Yes, we need to bring in the next speaker.
The next session is going to be hot. You need to listen to this woman. She's an amazing woman, and I've listened to her lecture at different times. She's a practitioner. One of the things I would try to do on this platform, on our platform, is to bring in people who are practitioners, not theoreticians, not people who tell the stories, but people who walk the talk. And it's a great honor today that we'll be bringing on and bringing up Shola Deshakin. We appreciate the fact that she was able to make it for this program. So, Mr. Akwe, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was an awesome section. So let's appreciate Mr. Oladipupo Clement. Go to the comment section and drop some fire emoji there.